The Great Indian Thar, a large swath of hot desert spread across 200,000 square kilometer, covering mainly Rajasthan, Gujarat and parts of Punjab and Haryana, and spreading into southeastern Pakistan. For long, golden sand dunes, camels, cactus, scorching heat and parched lands have been the quintessential image of the Thar. However, that is undergoing a rapid change. The golden Thar is turning green. In fact, the Thar Desert in India experienced a staggering 38% rise in greening over the past 2 decades, according to a study by a group of researchers at IIT Gandhinagar. What's even more striking is that the region, typically characterized by extremely low rainfall, experienced a dramatic 64% rise in precipitation between 2001 and 2023. The number looks stark, so I embarked on a journey to hunt for the desert, but came across a different story altogether. I began the journey in Jodhpur, the gateway to the Thar. Driving towards Barmer, the expectation was familiar. A parched landscape, endless sand dunes, scrub vegetation, and a merciless sun overhead. What unfolded instead was starkly different. Though it was autumn, thick black clouds hung low in the sky, and in the distance, I witnessed a heavy downpour across the horizon. Where sand dunes should have risen, puddles lined the road. This was not the Rajasthan one imagines, but the Rajasthan that now exists. In the parched stretches of the Thar, women traditionally walked long distances to fetch the desert's most precious commodity, water, balancing earthen pots on their heads and snug against their waists. But today, in Boli village of Rajasthan's Barmer district, rain is no longer just a blessing. Despite the autumn season, the signs of unseasonal shower is everywhere. A woman clad in traditional attire is seen covering harvested bajra with plastic sheet, protecting it from the unexpected downpour before slipping into her dhani, a mud and thatch hut whose roof too is now wrapped in plastic to keep the rain at bay. Khejri, Rajasthan's state tree, is also known as Kalpavriksha, the tree of life. It produces bean-like pods called sangri, a traditional desert staple in the absence of vegetables. However, in recent years, farmers have reported pests and gall formation on the tree, affecting sangri production. With increased groundwater pumping and the arrival of water from the Narmada Canal, Barmer has undergone a visible transformation. Women no longer have to walk long distances in search of what has long been the desert's most precious resource. And while I encountered water in abundance, what remained elusive was the quintessential image of a hot desert, the postcard version of Rajasthan that has long shaped the popular imagination. My next stop was in Gujarat, the little run of Kutch, a vast expanse of salt marsh. Here too, the signs of recent downpours were evident. It was here that I finally encountered a familiar marker of the desert, absent in Barmer, the camels. Draped in colorful tassels and anklets, they appeared less in their natural habitat and more ceremonial. The kind seen carrying BSF soldiers during the Republic Day parade each year. Still, the desert remained elusive. I turned back to Rajasthan, heading deeper into the heart of the Thar, to Jaisalmer, where much of the desert actually lies. Jaisalmer is a city like no other, one that imbues desert in every which way. Built almost entirely from local yellow sandstone, its structures, from intricately carved havelis and the towering Jaisalmer fort to the many hotels that dot the landscape, glow golden under the sun, mirroring the sand dunes. Dominating the cityscape is the 12th century Jaisalmer fort, also known as the Sonar Fort for its golden hue. Built by Rawal Jaisal, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and among the few surviving living forts in the world, with families continuing to reside within its walls. However, in 2023, the fort faced a challenge it was not designed for. A section of its wall collapsed following heavy rainfall. Strikingly, by mid-August last year, Jaisalmer, typically India's 7th driest district, had emerged as the 8th wettest in the country. By then, it had received more rainfall than anywhere else in North India except Bagheshwar in Uttarakhand. Across western Rajasthan, which makes up a large part of the Thar, 6 out of 10 districts recorded excess rainfall defined as 60% or more above normal according to the Rajasthan Monsoon Report 2024. My search for the desert, the quintessential image of dunes and camels, took me about 40 kilometers southwest of Jaisalmer city. At some, sweeping golden sand dunes rise and fall like waves, suddenly emerging from the flat horizon. It is still autumn, the desert air holding on to a lingering warmth, and the peak tourist season is yet to arrive. A few early visitors dot the landscape, riding atop camels draped in vivid saddle cloths called jewels, their necks adorned with colorful beaded tassels and their ankles jingling with tiny ghungroos. It is a stunning sight, but also a perplexing one. Just across the road, the scene shifts abruptly. No dunes, no camels, only a line of tents, hotels, restaurants and roadside dhabas. It feels as though the dunes and camels exist, less as part of a living landscape and more as ceremonial props, carefully staged to deliver the typical desert experience. Or is this a glimpse of a larger, rapid transformation sweeping across the Great Indian Thar, one that threatens a resilient ecosystem, its diverse flora and fauna, and a way of life that has endured for centuries despite miserly rainfall and harsh conditions? While I found the camels and the dunes in some, the essence of the desert was surprisingly elusive. It was instead about 30 kilometers northwest of Jaisalmer, in the village of Mokla, a place without sweeping sand dunes, that I encountered a desert ecosystem in its truest sense, largely untouched, thriving instead with minimal human intervention. Here, Manganiyars, the Thar's renowned Muslim folk singers, perform tales of Dungar Pirji, a cultural and spiritual figure revered locally as a medieval war hero, often invoking Radha, Krishna and Ram. This is an Oran, a sacred grove dedicated to Dungar Pirji, and it's 800 years old, as old as the Jaisalmer fort, which means this land has not been tilled, with the villagers not having plucked even a leaf from here for 800 years. Minimal human intervention has allowed biodiversity to flourish here, with a range of bird, animal, and plant species sharing this compact landscape. Yet, Orans have increasingly come under threat, often in the name of development. Most recently, proposed solar power projects have triggered protests by local communities who say these installations encroach upon and endanger sacred groves.
It's named after the goddess from Vedic age.
Okay.
Yeah, Aranyani Devi. So it just upbranch hokar jo hai, it became Oran.
Okay.
And again that Oran is also in local Marwadi language. Oran is like what we can say, that is my promise,
Okay.
my aan.
Okay.
We call it aan. So that aan is also Oran, that we have promised that we will protect this land.
Okay.
So this is locally known as on also.
Okay.
Yeah. The desert has to be dry.
Yeah.
So we have received a lot of rain in May and June.
Okay, this year?
This year also,
Has
in
been-
last
has been
years
happening.
also, for last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, but again we have the dry spell during
main
July,
seasons.
August and September. So that is very much problematic also, and because see, the farmers are not able to sow when they are supposed to sow, and if they sow in the peak summer like in May or June, then they have this long dry spell when everything got spoiled.
Speaking of biodiversity, no journey through the Thar would be complete without Bikaner, my last stop. The drive from Jaisalmer to Bikaner peels back yet another layer of the Thar's greening story. Thick outgrowths of Vilayati babool or Prosopis juliflora line the route, making it resemble a forest rather than a desert scrub. At Maheshon Ki Dhani, a sleepy village in an otherwise popular Pokhran Tehsil, hordes of sheep, cows and camels can be seen drinking water from a large pond, as several birds and butterflies also share the space. Suddenly, camels enter the water body, showcasing how this ship of the desert is just as comfortable in water. Many of them have skin diseases. Camel herder Kumbh Singh tells me. Nearby, a cow sits on the sandy, thorn-strewn ground, swarmed by flies. A little farther away, a calf appears weak, its body covered in skin lesions. Several other cows show similar symptoms. This is the lumpy skin disease, a viral infection spread by mosquitoes, ticks, and flies. A major outbreak in 2022 wiped out large numbers of cattle across the Thar. Notably, the desert once lacked both standing water and the mosquitoes that transmit such vector-borne diseases, including LSD. The pattern extends way beyond livestock. Historically, malaria was absent in the Thar. Experts point to the Indira Gandhi Nehar project as a turning point. The canal introduced perennial water bodies, which became ideal breeding grounds for mosquitoes. One animal the desert had never known until recently is the buffalo, a species more at home wallowing in ponds than traversing arid terrain. Yet, buffaloes are now an increasingly common sight in parts of the Thar. Between 2012 and 2019, Rajasthan's buffalo population rose by 5.53%. In the same period, the camel, the state animal and long considered the desert's most resilient inhabitant, saw its numbers falling by a staggering 34.69% from 3,25,713 to 2,12,739. This decline is part of a longer national trend. While camel numbers have risen globally, India's camel population has plummeted from nearly 11 lakh in 1977 to 4 lakh in 2013 and further down to 2.52 lakh in 2019, according to the 20th Livestock census. Nearly 90% of the country's remaining camels are now concentrated in Rajasthan and Gujarat. At the ICAR National Research Centre on Camel in Bikaner, Director Dr. Anil Punia points to the animal's remarkable adaptations, its ability to survive extreme heat, conserve water, and provide nutrient-rich milk, traits that once made it indispensable to desert life.
India is a cause of concern, and in last census in 2012 and 2019 there was a huge decline of camel in population in India to the extent of 39%. And interestingly, the number of camel world over is increasing, and in past few decades the number has been 3 times more. The reason for declining populations are very many, and the first and foremost is the utility of the animal has been decreased, because in the past these camels were being used as a draught animal in India, and especially in transportation and all. But with the increasing mechanization or in agriculture or mechanization in transportation system, the utility of animal has decreased.
Meanwhile, in Bajju village in Bikaner district, the Urmul Seeman Samiti, a local non-profit organization, is working with pastoralists to promote camel milk and trees, attempting to restore value to an animal that has long sustained the desert but is slowly being pushed to its margins. On my journey back to Jodhpur, one truth settled in. The Thar Desert is not disappearing, it is transforming. Greener, wetter, altered at its very core. And the desert we thought we knew no longer exists.